So this is Crystal Capsule class, and today we are going to go over the call down stuff, which is the basic stuff I go over every single time. Then we will be looking at the base electrical center, also known as chakra, but we'll talk about why I call it an electrical center instead of a chakra. And then we will be looking at jasper and red jasper and bloodstone. So that is the outline and plan for today. All classes I start with all right, let me just check and see. Somebody's listening to something. Can everybody mute? Morning, Joshua. Can you mute, or you can be on video with cool. Okay. So I start all the classes with the same sort of call down, a couple of things to remember. The first is cleaning crystals. And if you've been here before, you know I don't use water or salt because there is a huge long list that don't like water, and then anything with iron in it, which a lot of stones have, can get rusty with salt. So I use smoke or sound, sunlight, moonlight, and breath. And that would be taking a stone and then with intention, cleaning it with your breath. As a fire sign, I find the breath a bit difficult. I know Carrie talked about it, and she said she did well with it, but I have trouble with that. I used a lot of smoke and sound. Charging, you can use intention, again, in your palm, holding that up, charging, empowering the stone, making it feel that it's full of whatever intention or whatever it is that you need. Sunlight and moonlight both are ways to charge stones. Some stones don't like long hours in the sun because it can change the color. Fluorite's a sensitive stone. And so if you do put it in sunlight to charge it, just do it for a couple hours. And then programming, again, is the same as charging, except you're holding it in your dominant hand. For me, it's my dominant hand is my left hand because I'm left-handed. So that would be where you will hold the stone, and you'll be putting into the stone what it is that you are asking that stone to do. If you are using, wow, I don't have a clear crystal. So I use this as a crystal. If you have a clear crystal, you can then put it in your hand, and clear crystal is awesome because it will hold anything that you, any kind of intention. It's the master healer. It's the one stone that really does take and goes across the board, but it can hold the intention. So that's the programming. Crystals are like perfume. So I'll be giving you some base information about the stones, but how that stone reacts with you is going to be very unique to you. It's going to be, it's like perfume. You can smell the perfume and everybody smells it and goes, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. And then you put it on and it has a completely different smell. And so stones are like that. So we'll be going over red jasper. So red jasper has a certain kind of feel. I'm going to give a very base outline of it. And then it will, then if you work with it, or if you have one, then you will be able to feel some differences from what I say because of your chemistry. It's the alchemy of that structure and your structure. We just finished going over the chemical structure, the 7 chemical structures that crystals come in for energy frequency. And now we're starting color. One of the things that we haven't spoken about before that I realized really needed to be covered was how to start to feel electrically with your hands. Some people are very sensitive, some people it takes a bit more practice. But when you feel things electrically with your hands, then you will be able to utilize the stones in a much more, you'll be much more sensitive for other people and for yourself. So the best way to start many times is just to rub your hands together. And then when you take them apart, there should be a slight tingle. And then you bring them together. And we've all seen these exercises of building an electrical ball, or most of us have heard or done these exercises where you start to build a ball. That's going to sensitize your hands. And the more that you practice it, the more that you can just sensitize your hands by saying, okay, I need my hands to be sensitized. You've done it enough times that your hands switch on, and then they're receptive to what you need it to be receptive to. Or if you need to project something, this morning I had some pain down my back. And so I put it in a clear crystal, some pain relief, and I projected it down my spine, and it sort of cut the major pain out. And that worked for me. Again, it's going to be up to each person on how sensitive they are. But I just wanted to go over the hands on how to get the hands more electrically sensitive, so that when we talk about feeling stones and feeling these different energy centers, that people are more able to feel it and be aware of it. Our system, our whole body is an electrical system. Most of us have, heard or worked with auras. So when I say electrical systems, I'm talking about the aura around. The etheric is the small bit around the body. And then there's different layers to the aura, and they go out. So I'm doing lots of ums today. Let's see if we can change that. So as your hands get more sensitive, you can start to feel hot spots, which you want to remove, or you can feel it on other people if you have someone to work with, or see if they will let you work with them. Then you can start to feel different parts of the electrical system. But I wanted to go over that because that was something that we hadn't really gone over. And as I will be starting the series again, so there'll be 2 crystal classes a week. But when I start that will be in the beginning, because that's kind of super important. So energy centers are the same as chakras. Part of the reason that I use energy center is because chakras are specific to Hinduism. Even though I lived in India for 2 years, and I'm very familiar, and my worship practice is very influenced by Hinduism. It's not my base structure growing up, even though I spent time there. Energy centers is what I will use instead of chakras. So if I say energy centers, then people can translate it into, there's 7 major to do with the rainbow, but there are other energy centers to do on your palms, on your joints, on your knees, on your ankles, and your hips. Those are also energy centers, although we will just focus on the major 7. Part of how to think about your hand and the electrical part of your hand is it's an energy center in of itself. And so when you're working with the stone, that you're using your energy center, having it come back to you if you're working on something specific for your system. So with the base energy, and in doing this research, I discovered that there's some writings that Plato did in regards to energy centers that are very similar to the chakra system. And I have not been able to find it, like the actual writings yet, but I've read references to it in a couple different places. And so I will be following up on that. I also know that the Norse system also used a sevenfold energy system. So it's in every continent in the world, use these energy systems. The one that our society today is most familiar with is the chakra system. Okay, so the base energy system is located at your coccyx. It is that bottom part of your spine, and the whole energy center basis is tied up through your spine all the way up to the crown. So this is the base, and it's also called the root, but which is them work really well, I think, because the root talks about being grounded, and this is where one's grounding is most evident. So if you have a tendency not to be grounded, then doing work on that electrical center, on that energy center, can be very grounding. Using those stones that go with those with that electrical center, with the base, can be very, very assistive for a person. So it is, so the base center is, if people know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that very bottom one, the survival, the roof over your head, the safety, security, that very bottom one, that is your base electrical center or energy center. It's the same thing. It's to do with survival. It's to do with security. It's to do with safety. It's also to do with the foundation that we grow up with. If trauma has happened in the childhood, it's going to start in that energy center. So if something's happened in your childhood that you know you need to heal, or if you're working with someone to assist them in healing for themselves, then if there's been an incident or a traumatic situation or trauma over a traumatic childhood, that's where you're going to start, because that's the foundation of the whole system, like our whole system. One of the organs that goes with this base system is the adrenal glands. And if you think about, that's the fight or flight, it's part of this base. So when you're looking at healing yourself, I'll just say yourself, it can be someone else as well, but we should start with ourselves in the first place. And so when you're looking to heal yourself, if you've had those incidents, or if you've had, I think most of us have had what's called an adrenaline dump, when something super exciting or traumatic, or jumping out of an airplane, or whatever that is, that dumps into your system. The adrenaline dumps into your system, and you get kind of shaky and you don't feel grounded. And that's going back to that base energy center. So if there's been a bunch of incidents in your life where that's happened, then I would recommend using these kind of stones on a regular basis to start to rebuild the stability that should be there, because fight or flight, that sort of that structure, that dump that happens, can be life affecting. It can change every single part, and every center that you have is going to be changed by how that base center is. Oh, I know. So when we think about, so one of the things is, when we have rough times, many of us think about times that are good. times that we were well. So like we're having a rough time and we remember those times that were good. Those times are printed into that base system. They may be connected to your heart. They may be connected to your other electrical centers, other energy centers, but it's based down in the base. Blood is also part of the root or base energy system. And there is a special relationship between the base and the heart, which makes sense why blood then is part of it, because the heart pumps the blood, but the blood is what holds everything, keeps everything moving, and it also holds electrically. Our blood holds our history. So when trauma does happen, it's in our blood system, and so you need to then address that so that you can move forward, or you can address that. So that's just like an outline of the base energy center. It's where courage starts, even though the solar plexus and other centers also talk about courage. It's where courage starts. It's where creativity starts. And also that aspect that we have to combat fear comes from that base center. So in strengthening that, then that's where crystals can be really, really helpful. Yeah, I feel like I'm going 1,000 miles an hour. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? Oh, I love Zoom. Okay. So yeah, so that can be deeply affected. And there's the connection, going back to the connection between the base energy center and the heart. There's a lot of stones that are, and one of the stones that we're going to look at is bloodstone, which has both red and green. The color that goes with the base is black, some brown stones, and red stones as a generalization. The black stones are absolutely part of the base. And I'm going to just give an overview on black stones. Each of them has their own frequency and their own feel, like their own smell, I suppose. It has its own frequency, but it has a base that they all are a part of. And that is basically to address that the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the lowest, which is protection. Black stones are protective. Most people who have any interest in crystals know obsidian and tourmaline. Those are the two that are most common. It also includes jet and onyx, and probably 2 or 3 stones that I forgot. But tourmaline and obsidian both are protective stones. They start at the base, so they provide that foundation of protection that then goes up as a person grows and personally develops and continues to move through and become more connected to higher things. It starts at the base and then it goes up. So we also use, well, not we, that's a really bad example, but I use black stones for protection in my home. I have one above my door that basically says, please keep negativity out of one's home. I also have teenagers, so it's super hard. But I have them by the door. When I've done home cleansings, electrical home cleansings or consecrations, I always put either obsidian or tourmaline, depending on the family. I put that by the front door. It can be inside or outside, and it can be because the sill on a door has that little tiny bit of a edge. That's where I usually put it, because it doesn't become a big, unless you have a really big piece, which is awesome. And then I would put that by the front door. But if all you have are small pieces, you can put one above the door, and with the intention that you're keeping negativity out and that you're protecting the home inside. And the black stones, that's talking about one's home, but the black stones also do the same for us, where they provide that level of protection. So if you're ever, oh, I have black kyanite on, I just remembered. Kyanite has its own frequency, but the black is protective and grounding. And so talking about the black, that also provides that security basis. If you are ever going into a situation that you know might be scary or might, I don't want to say dangerous, because danger is relative to each person, but if you're going into a place where you might not feel comfortable, then having a black stone with you, having, I brought some of my stones out today. So here's a medium-sized piece. So we have a piece of obsidian. This would be a little bit big for a pocket, but if you have small pieces that you can put them in your pocket. I saw a great meme this week that was sent to me. And then it had, do you know the little key pocket in jeans? Well, those are actually used for crystals. That's where you put the crystals, is in that little pocket in the jeans. I was like, yes. So if you're wearing yoga pants, there's usually a little pocket for the key. That's where you put your stones. What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Oh, I didn't hear the dog. Lynn?
Sorry, yeah, my dogs are barking at whatever.
It's okay. Did you have a question?
Stop. Oh, I know why.
Did you have a question, honey?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Maybe can you mute yourself, and then if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat.
Has anybody put anything in the chat? I'm so bad at the chat. I don't see anything. Okay, well, we'll just keep moving forward. So put them on. You can wear it as a necklace. I've got a little circle, little ball of obsidian that I wear often, and or you can just put it in your pocket. But that can be a very protective stone for a person in dangerous or in uncomfortable situations where you might not feel safe, like crowds, or I guess if you're a police officer, then going to work. But I think that it doesn't matter really what kind, if you've got jet, if you've got onyx, if you've got tourmaline, or if you've got obsidian, they all can provide that protection and that grounding. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about grounding, because I realize that not everybody, I've been going along the assumptions that everybody knew what grounding meant. And last time I was kind of called out, where a person's like, well, what is grounding? So grounding is the opposite of anxiety, or of feeling nervous, or of feeling disconnected. And so grounding is when you feel connected to the whole of you. And an exercise that I use with my patients is that goes down to the roots go into the ground, and that keeps you steady. Then it goes up and it blossoms, and then other things take over. But that root, this is part of why it's called the root chakra, or the root energy center, is that it comes down and it goes into the ground, or it goes down into your legs, so that you feel stable. If you've ever worn heels that were a little bit too high, I'm sure, Joshua, this is your norm. Just kidding. So if you've ever worn heels that are a little bit too high, you feel a little out of balance. And that feeling is that ungrounded feeling. So
I was talking to Will.
And so feeling grounded is when you feel secure, when you feel stable. And black stones are really good for grounding. Now, all crystals have a grounding aspect. They come from the ground. They're part of the earth. They remain and continue to have the connection to all obsidian that's around or in the earth. So they have that grounding aspect, but the black ones are really the strongest in terms of getting grounded. If you tend to be a bit ditzy, like me, then I use them to keep me grounded, to keep my thoughts on track, and to keep me from getting too stuck in my head. In Ireland, they say away with the fairies, but so that you're not only based in your head, but you're based in your whole body. So that's grounding. And I just wanted to go over that because someone asked me last time and I had just made that assumption that everybody's felt ungrounded. So I just assumed that everybody was trying to feel grounded in life. So black stones really help with grounding and protection. There are specific frequencies that go with each stone. I'm not going to go into them today, but I just wanted to go into grounding. I am going to go over the basic stones that go with the red stones and black stones. I'm going to go over them slowly because I know that sometimes people take notes and I tend to talk a little fast. So I'm going to go over those slowly so people can write them down. The major red stones that go with the root energy center is red jasper, and every kit that you've ever seen that has the 7 stones usually has red jasper for your root. Garnet is also one of the stones, and ruby. Now, again, you'll see a bit of a connection to the heart there because garnet and ruby also have a connection to do with love and to do with passion. That aspect, the passionate aspect of love. And it doesn't have to be for a person. It can be if you love the guitar and you love to play the guitar, if you felt distance from that, you could use red jasper to get you back to that feeling that kind of passion. So it's not specifically to do with a person, but it's more to do with passion and zest and vitality. So I'm going to talk about red jasper. And again, this is the most common stone that people think about. It's also, if you're looking for good stone and you're it's a reasonably cheap stone, inexpensive, not cheap, cheap sounds bad, inexpensive stone to purchase for your base, for the root. It provides stability. It improves grounding, which we talked about, that kind of grounding feel. It improves that. It has a passion and vibrancy. If you are feeling wilted, or if you're feeling just soggy, I know these are kind of strange terms. I'm trying to because I'm trying to feel it in my body. So what does it feel like? If you don't feel like you've got that passion, then this is a really good stone to utilize. It's also got it's a powerful stone. It's got a kick-ass energy to it. Some stones are more subtle, and red jasper is, I would put it as not a subtle stone. It really does have that little kind of to it. This is what it looks like when it's been tumbled, like a rough tumble. And then this is what it looks like raw. And it's harder to see the, you can, so it, yeah, okay, moving on. But it's, yeah, so, and it promotes vitality and passion.
In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to take a step of faith and stand right where you are, and we'll pray together.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. So it provides that, and it's it also provides with the blood. It provides that healthy heart. So, like I said, it had the organ to do with the base is adrenal. It also provides the heart with that extra strength. Someone has a serious heart condition, this would be, can I mute everybody? I think so. Sorry guys, I'm not like totally fluid with, I'm just gonna ask everybody if they could mute so that we're not picking up random bits of conversation, because then I stop and I think someone's gonna ask a question, unless you're gonna ask a question. So it promotes vitality and so yeah, so that's red jasper. I love the component of to do with creativity with red jasper. So much creativity shows up in your sacral and in your solar plexus energy centers. That shows up a lot about creativity, but it has to come from the base. And this is where that sort of new idea to get things started. Like I said, I like the word, it's kind of a kick-ass stone. So that's red jasper. And now I'm also going to work on and look and go over bloodstone, but I want to talk a little bit about brownstones. And so not all brownstones are connected with the base or root energy center. Some are connected with the crown or third eye. So there is some sort of play within brownstones. Smoky quartz, which can range from light gray to almost black and brown as well. That is a base energy center stone. Also, I'm going to read a little bit. Mahogany obsidian is another one. Petrified wood. Septarian, which is that kind of cool, looks a little bit like a turtle. It's kind of brown. It's like a light brown with black or brown zigzags. Kind of looks like a shell that's been cracked. That's also part of the base, but not all brownstones are. Some like argonaut is to do with the crown, and some of those are up higher. Did I go? Yeah, I went over did I go over the black stones that go with it? Did I list them out? I will again, just in case. So the black stones that go with the base energy center is obsidian, black tourmaline, jet, which is actually a kind of petrified wood that then moves into, that's why jet never gets that super high glossy polish. It always has a bit of a dull luster to it. It doesn't ever get super shiny. Somebody hands you something and says, this is jet and it's super shiny. It's not. And onyx. So those are the 4 major black stones to do with the base. Now, I'm going to talk about bloodstone, which is a green and red stone. It is obviously, due to its name, it is a blood strengthening stone. The red bits that are in it are, I'm not sure exactly what kind of iron it is, but it is iron that's in it. And many times this can be very helpful for anemics and just to strengthen one's blood. Now, it is connected with the heart because it's also green. And this is where you have that root and heart connection again. Bloodstone is grounding and it is protective and it promotes personal development. So it's moving, it starts, if you're on your journey of personal growth, you know how it goes, is that you work, and then you start another section or another bit again. And then you work, and then you start another section again. And then you keep kind of going up and down as you grow as a person. Bloodstone's really good if you are finding that you are sort of like at an end of an octave when things feel very full, or you're at the beginning of an octave when things feel really immense and it might feel overwhelming. Bloodstone can really help with that part kind of grounding. And so it also has the same sort of creativity and vitality and courage. It's good for emotional grounding because it's got the green, which is connected to the heart, where your emotions tend to reside. The emotions also are in every one of our energy centers, but the heart holds the most kind of emotions that we feel. And if you feel overwhelmed by emotions, and it doesn't have to be sort of the typical love, or it can be just if you're overwhelmed, this can be a really good stone because it's going to bring you back down to the beginning, and then you get to start over, which is what what personal development is like, is you go along and then you get where you can get to at a certain point, and then you have to start over, different octave, and then you keep going. It is, so as I said, red jasper is a kick-ass stone. Its energy, to me, its energy is very strong and it's very not subtle. Bloodstone's energy is a little bit more subtle. It's a little bit softer. Now, that could be because it's connected to the heart and it has so much green. I hadn't really thought about it till just now. But it still has that vitality boost, that creative, passionate, I want to do something kind of feel. But it's just a little more gentle. It is a little softer in one's core. It has a more, just a smoother vibration to me. And I think that's connected to the heart. So that's both stones are grounding, obviously courage, vitality, passion. Garnet is a stone that is associated with love, but it really is a base. And so if we think about love, which we do a lot in life, and we think about it, it is so many times directed just at the heart, but love starts in the foundation of a person. Love starts in our base. As children, our part of the job of parents is to provide a safe structure around which or within which we grow as into a person. into an individual. And so they are providing that safety and that grounding. And then that slowly then builds, allows us to build it. If we feel overwrought, and sometimes we feel emotions that are not, we just don't know where they're coming from. They just hit us. We get sad and we don't have, like, no one's died. My dogs or cats are fine. Everything's going good. What's going on? This is a really good stone to help you bring you back to your base, bring you back to your base, so that you can then sort of meditate with it, get grounded, get back to the base, and then have the space for new ideas, have the space that was being weighed down on your heart that really needed to be taken up by the base. Our heart does a lot and is amazingly versatile in its capacity. But so much of life really does start. If you're building a house or you're building a building and you don't have a good foundation, you build it on sand, then it will not have a strong foundation. And you need to make sure that that foundation is strong. If anybody is into the tarot and you think about the two towers, where one is built on a false foundation and is falling apart, and one is built on a solid foundation and is solid, allowing for growth. So sometimes we build on false foundations because we think it's solid. And then we have to go, okay, we need to start over. We need to regroup, rebase, get regrounded. Then bloodstone's a really great stone for that. It's fairly common, and usually you can get a tumble for a couple bucks. Etsy and is a reasonably good place. But so that's for that. Yeah. So that is today's class. I hope somebody's got some questions. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't mute everybody.
So I don't have any questions, but I'm super excited that you went over red jasper, because I just got a cool red jasper just the other day. So I was like, oh my gosh. It just like connected to the class. Yeah, see, Joshua.
Yeah, that's
so I was super excited when you said red jasper. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna hold it while you talk about it. And I think, I mean, this is just me putting out there, but kind of in the beginning of like crystals and everything, like there is a difference between bloodstone and dragon's blood, and some people
yes,
they are one and the same. So I don't know if, you know, maybe you want to talk about that, like one is jasper, one isn't jasper, and kind of different things. But I know people see dragon's blood and they think that it's the same.
So it's not the same. Absolutely. They have different chemical structures. And so the energy that they bring in through their chemical structures is different. They look very different. Here, let me see hang on one second so I can show, because sometimes we don't know because no one has shown us what they look like, the difference. Hang on one second, everybody. I have 4 alphabetical piles of stones. Okay, so this is bloodstone. There's little tiny bits of red in it. Let me see, I've got some more bloodstone. Oh, I've got a big honking one. And this one it actually looks like tree, looks like agate, but it's not. It is actually bloodstone. There's some little red bits in it. And I was like, oh, it's got some white, but it's got some red too. Yeah, so that is bloodstone. And it can be, I've got a bloodstone here that that almost looks black. So sometimes you'll find a stone that's so dark green and it'll have a couple pieces of red, and that's most likely bloodstone. Dragon's blood is like this. I know there's a glare. I don't know how to cut the glare off. Anyway, so it is got different pieces of green. It's like more of a mesh, more of a hodgepodge of green bits with red splotched on it. It tends to be, oh, this is hopefully you can see this one. No. There.
Yeah.
And of course, my video fucking moved. So that's dragon's blood. Now, dragon's blood is connected much more to the heart, even though it's got the red. And it is more to do with heartfelt things as opposed to aventurine or green aventurine or jade, which is much more to do with abundance and love. The dragon's blood is more to do with those things that are heartfelt, things that you feel with your heart. It can be love, it can be what you love to do, it can be your family, it can be all of those things across the board. And if you are feeling that is under fire, or if you're feeling that that's not being strengthened, then dragon's blood is really good for that. Again, it's going to have, because of the blue and green together, it will have that strengthening to the blood and heart. So there is going to be some aspect of dragon's blood that does connect to the base energy center, but it is more, the balance of it is more in the heart than in the base, whereas bloodstone's more in the base than in the heart. Carrie, what else do you have to add to that?
No, I think that was perfect. I just think, when people are starting out and they can look very similar depending on how much red is going through them. And like dragon's blood, I think why it kind of has more to do with the heart too is because the green in it is more epidote and not actual jade. And then I also, for like grounding black stones, I think shungite can be very
oh my god,
good. I have a shungite ring. My tower is next
to and hematite. Oh my god, I can't. Hematite. Oh my god.
Hematite can be a little heavy for me. I think that's because I have no earth in my chart. I have a lot of air, water, and fire. So sometimes hematite seems to really, sometimes it's almost too overpowering for me.
Well, hematite's another one of those kick-ass, like red jasper. I don't do a lot of work with hematite for the same reason, is that my attraction is more towards smoother, smoothed energy stones. I have only recently really been attracted to red jasper, but it really has that kick-ass feel to it.
I think bronzite can be a gentle grounding stone, and that's more of like one of the brown stones.
Yeah, and but that's also connected to the crown. So there's that, but there's all, as if you've come and done a couple classes with me, everything's connected to everything. I know that's such a cliche, but it's true. Everything
and I might like the bronzite because it is more connected to the crown, and I'm a very not grounded person.
I know, but you were the one who said like, oh yeah, I can totally I can clean it with the breath, and I'm like, yeah, I would pass out before it would get clean. So it is very much there is that difference. You have to find the stones that gel with you. I recently have I've been working with stones for quite a few years. I've been doing electrical work for over 20 years. And so but the focus with stones have been for just the last couple of years. And I've never had a big thing for red jasper. And it's been the last couple of weeks recently that I've really sort of started to feel, I think it's because I think when I started, I was more sensitive to stronger, more powerful stones, if that makes sense. And so because red jasper really does have a bit of a punch with it, and I'm trying to think of other stones. Labby can also have a bit of a punch with it. Labradorite can have a bit of a punch with it sometimes, especially if it's got a lot of good flashes, but that's beside the point. Yeah, so that's a really good point, Carrie. I'm glad you brought that up. And like here's a ground, this is, yeah, I'm not gonna bring it up right now because it just evaporated from my brain. It's a good thing I have all these grounding stones around me to keep me sane. Is there any other questions, any other comments? This class usually is about 45 minutes to an hour long. I like to keep it kind of short so that, yeah, because that's works best for me.
Hello. I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. Oh, do you see me now? Okay. Yes, I wanted to ask you if you have heard of or have heard anything about the dragon crystal from Bosnia.
Not under that name.
Okay.
Like,
yes.
So it could be, so you end up with stones. I'll use Super 7 as an example. Super 7 is a amethyst-based stone that has 7 other chemicals, minerals in it. And so it doesn't look exactly like it. It's also called the Melody Stone, is the other name for it. So there are trademark names for some stones. And then there's the sort of generic name for it. And so I don't know what Dragonstone is.
I can show you if you, because I've been to Bosnia and okay, let me, hi. Hello, so that's how it looks.
Wow.
Let me show you. So it actually has like.
Wow. Well, I'll do some research into that.
Because that's, I've been working with these crystals and that's another one. So you can see it has different, like 7 different calcites, but it kind of goes green.
Is it a calcite type stone?
Yes, and that's what I've been like trying to kind of get the name right.
Okay.
Because I want to use it for my sessions, and yeah, I do use it already, but it's like I want to get the right name.
I will, Sophia, I'll do some research. I've got a good connection with a dealer who knows all the different names for different stones, and so I'll reach out to Ronnie and see if he can help me with that and what it might be called, just standard. And it might be called Dragonstone. It's not something that I'm familiar with.
So you said it was the 7 layers. You said Melody, and what was the other name?
Super 7.
Super 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has 7 layers.
Yeah, it's got. Well, and then there's also like, there's some new stones that are being found on the market recently. Auralite 23, which has 23 different minerals and chemicals in it, and super, if you get it and it's real, it's super expensive. I could only get it with
I went because I've been to Bosnia and I got them from like the locals. So it was like, because the Bosnian pyramids have been found just 5 years back, so they are quite recent. Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
And I had a crystal energy that was like pointing me right and left. So they made me pick crystals from the tunnels.
Oh, cool. And they let you do that?
They didn't allow me, but the energy was like, I kept like stopping myself. So let me show you. So I will just turn my camera.
Good afternoon. Goodbye, Andrea. You know what I'm going to do, Sophia, is I'm going to stop the I'm going to stop the recording, and then we can chat because I'm very interested in stop video. So this is going to stop the video. This is not going to stop the session. We will continue chatting and going over things, but I'm stopping the video. No, that's my video, dumbass. Stop the recording.